Guru Kripa Kevalam. Namaste, namaste everyone. Very warm welcome to Satsang today. Sadguru Shri Muji Baba ki Jai. Happy to answer questions.
There's no particular question. I just wanted you to just wanted you to talk more about from person to presence. That's something simply.
Saying that there is no particular question, but you wanted to speak more about person to presence. Need some light in this room. It's just fine. All good? Sometimes I say like this that because we hear things so often in Satsang, sometimes I feel that they lose their value. Like this term person, and we keep saying that there is no person. And it's become like part of our language now. Oh, there is no person. Not, it's just like, but there is no person. Sometimes I want to say it with so much emphasis, because many times we are saying it, but we're still saying it personally. What does it mean that there is no person? That this individual boundary that we have created for ourselves is just made up. The notion of separation is just made up. So it's not a simple statement to just say there is no person. So first, before we get to even presence, let's even explore this. Yes, I know there is no person. It's become a bit like that. Come on, there is no person here. So, what does that really imply then? If there is no person here, there is nobody who has a story. There is nobody who has a history. There is nobody who is this way or that way. So for a while, let's deal with this fact. And because sages have said it umpteen times, it is a fact. That there is no person. There is no individual. There is no ego. It is just a made-up concept, made up by the one consciousness itself. So all your pride, all your grievances, all your regrets, your guilt, all of this has who at the center? All your understanding also. Who is at the center of all of this? So, if there is no person, and we have looked and looked, and we found that there is no person, even phenomenally, phenomenally, you have the appearance of these intimate perceptions called the body. Intimate both in the sense of sensationally intimate seeming like, and also intimate in the sense of the visual perspective seems to be centered around this head. So in this way, this object seems like the most intimate. So now this body has no concept of bondage or freedom. So if you considered yourself to be this body, then what are you doing in satsang? What are you doing in satsang? What is in satsang for this body? Nothing is available. There are no donuts here for this body. So it cannot be really that you consider yourself to be this body. Also, if you look at your last 5-10 problems, how many of them are related to the body? Maybe one or two. But the majority has to do with relationships, has to do with money in the bank account, has to do with people at work, also people in the sangha, other people, which the body is not so concerned about. Does the body have a career path? Does the body have a bank account? How much money will it take to, or let's put it another way, can you take that money and feed it to the body? You can't do it. It means nothing to this body. So if your life has been centered around relationships, about security like money, if it has been centered around even the quest for freedom, then already you're not behaving as if you are a body. You're behaving as if you are the owner of this instrument called the body. But this ownership has been given to the wrong place, has been given to a made up idea, has been given to a name. But who is this one? This is what we call the person, the ego, and it is just a concept. At best, it's a belief system. The body is an innocent instrument. It is just sitting around, or standing up, or lying down. It has no concept about anything at all. So even phenomenally, we do not find this person. That's why I call this person a second level illusion. Second level illusion. And that's a different debate whether you consider this world play an illusion or not. That we don't have to get into at this moment. But even in this world play, we do not find this person. And that should have a seismic impact. That should have a seismic impact. It cannot just be run of the mill. Oh, I know, actually, there is no person. Everything is actually the will of consciousness. You know, it's all Guru Kripa. You know, it's just become like language. These words that we're using to justify ourselves personally, to take a personal position about things, claiming to be in the garb of spirituality. So we have to get out of this. There is no person. Digest that fact. You have looked, the sages have said it, and the scriptures have said it. All the credible sources have testified to this over and over again. And most importantly, you have looked from your own insight. You have not found this entity called the person. Okay? So that's an important point. Then the question comes. So when I say I, what am I referring to now? So when I say I, what am I referring to now? What does the I represent? So this is worth exploring. I have already discovered that there is no person, but I'm still saying I have discovered. I have discovered that there is no person, but I'm saying I have discovered. So who is this I now? If the person was all there was, then there must not be a you left to make a discovery. But whose insight is this? And we've also said from your own insight, you can say intuitive insight, you can say inner perception, you can use many words. But you can say that from your own insight, you have seen that there is no person. You have seen. So which you is now left? Check inside and see which one is now left. So the notional went away. The conceptual, the made up one, was just an idea. It's like you can have a crazy idea that you are Uncle Sam or something. And your only job is to recruit people into the American army or something like that. Now you looked and you found there is no such entity. but you looked. Who is existent here? Who is present here? That looked. So when the notional one is no longer given belief, it is not made a reference point. You can say another way to say that the death of the person idea does not imply your death. So the one that is present, first we come to this one. The sages have also used a term for this one called the I am. Now you have never had an experience of anything at all. You see? You have never had the experience of anything at all unless first you existed. So I am becomes a substratum for this state in which phenomena is appearing. So like Omkar is saying, it's the waking state or the dream state, any state in which there is phenomenal appearance, first means this sense that I exist. I am. My being is. Just like this existence is the existent aspect of what is. So a beautiful question to ask is, what wakes up? What wakes up? So this being, this manifest aspect of your self seems to wake up. And once it wakes up, all this drama of life, all these lights and colors and shapes and sizes and names and forms, they start to appear. But if you kept the originality of that moment of waking, what does that mean? That originality of the moment of waking means where the I am is not fettered, not attached to any idea about yourself. then here there is no suffering, and the truth of what you are is completely apparent. Now, the best part about this is that you don't have to wait till tomorrow. Because from what I said, it can sound like, okay, from tomorrow when I wake up, then I have to wake up and keep that originality of my first moment and then done. The best part about this is that in this moment, you are completely fresh from all the notions and everything that is happening. This is like a huge cheat code. You can make nothing out of your spiritual journey. In a good way. It can make the so-called journey into nothing. Because right now, as you meet this being, as you meet this I amness, completely empty of any judgment, you're meeting God. You're meeting consciousness. You're meeting beingness. So we saw that there is no person, and then we are coming to a meeting with our own being. And the only prerequisite is don't bring your thoughts with you. I mean, they can come and they can go, but you don't bring any thoughts that you're attaching to. You said don't put anything in your bag. Everything can come and go, but don't collect anything at all here. Not even the interpretation of this insight which you are having. You don't have to come out saying this is it. Because then you'll hold on to the this is it and this will be forgotten. Empty of any interpretation. Meet yourself. In this moment, you're an enlightened being. You're as sagey as a sage can get. Okay? In this moment. And I am allowed to make that judgment on your behalf. You leave it alone. Now, this being has a lot of beautiful aspects. You can even call them abilities or aspects is maybe better. Because as soon as this being is there, so much of this play starts. There is phenomenal aspects like time and space, light and gravity, magnetism. Uh, so much is going on in this apparent universe. There are also subtler aspects like attention and belief. Which are very unexplored actually. A lot of exploration has happened about the phenomenal sciences, but very little exploration has happened about these very fundamental aspects of our existence. Like what is attention? what is belief, and therefore what is identity. So as you met yourself, you found that all limitations, all boundaries, all concepts of history, of past, all desires from the future do not apply to your being in its originality. Isn't it? Did you meet yourself like this or you saw that nothing really applies? It is not wanting anything, it is not running from anything, it has no grievances, it has no guilt. So all these various terms that we use for suffering do not apply to it. So what supernatural ability does this being have? Because it must be a supernatural ability. It is the unlimited one. It is more spacious than space, in which even this space comes. You see? You're meeting this being right now as your own being, as your own presence. Then how is it that this one considers itself to be with boundary, with limitation, with past, with future? Okay, so for 1 minute you have full permission to identify for science. So how is it that this being considers itself to be anything limited? You try to do this. I know you'll never hear this in Satsang. You try to do this. Be a person or pose as if you are one. So slowly let's look now. Who actually managed to become a person? You see, so we're looking at two questions. One is the whether you're able to pick up the pretense of personhood, the pretense of ego, or whether you actually were able to transform this being into something which was limited, something which was an object. An object means it has a size, shape, duration. Who was able to make this being into an object? Cannot do it. So no, this is a very, very important point. So no separation has actually happened. No individualization has ever actually happened in consciousness. That's why Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi said, it is only the notion that I am something, which is the Jivatma. There has never been actually a Jivatma. You see? Which means there has never been an individualized consciousness. It is only the idea I am something which makes the Atma pose as if it is an individualized consciousness. And when we are operating under the assumption I am something, then it can feel like I'm living an individual life. And you notice that this I am is just I am, with no boundaries. Being is just being. the offers of this something are only coming from one source. The offers to attach are from one source. And this is also very important to see. This is also very important to see. Otherwise, you'll get into a fight with the world. You'll get into some sort of position with. You don't have to do any of those because there is only one source which is offering this notion something to you, and this source we call the mind. We also call the small mind. So it is giving you ideas about yourself which are not true. It is that aspect of your creation which you have created so that you could believe this story of individuality. It is the narrator of the story which has the personal perspective. If you let this one be, if you leave it alone, you don't have to fight it, you don't have to love it. Just let it come and go. Then you will find the natural love which is there for all appearances can also exist for this one. But you're still not buying that story of separation. You're not buying this tiny mad idea. So this is what I've been calling the your notionless existence. And this is what means to come from, to go from person to presence. It means that we go from this Mahamantra of the mind, which is what's in it for me, constantly identifying with this what's in it for me, to having no notion that I am something, which means having no idea about this me. And a sage's life is a beautiful representation of this, as to how even regular, normal day-to-day functioning can happen without picking up concepts, without picking up the identity. Now let's look at the question. Beloved Father, it is seen that there is no person. However, it can't be denied that the one who sees no person is simply not there in other states. Yes, yes. So I read this question now because we're just coming to that point. Is simply not there in other states other than the waking state. or any, like I clarified, any state which has phenomenal appearances, whether you call it waking, dream, anything else. I wanted to clarify, including the one who wants to clarify. Yes. This doesn't see this in states other than the waking state. That's why it is important to note that it is just the manifest aspect of ourselves, that which we call this consciousness, which plays with the role of separation, with the role of I am something, and then comes to the recognition. So I am, then something, something, and this very same I am coming to the recognition, I am that. So I am that means that I am coming to the recognition of my very source, of what I truly am. And even this one, which we have called the deity, the God, consciousness, the light of this world, ultimately, in your absolute reality, is also a coming and going. So both the delusion and the recognition, both the play of bondage and the coming to freedom, only apply to this being, to this consciousness, which is now seemingly waking itself up within the waking state through satsang, through self-inquiry, through surrender, whatever tools or mechanisms it is created for itself. So consciousness coming to the recognition of its own source is this awakening or self-recognition. Now, an important point which is worth mentioning is that because we say that this awareness is the absolute within which is the manifest aspect, which is consciousness, doesn't imply that now there are two, the absolute and consciousness. See? Just like because there are so many different fingers of different sizes doesn't mean that there are two hands. It is still one. So this is a very important point, that even this distinction ultimately between the manifest being, a dynamic aspect as Guruji would say, and the source, the completely non-phenomenal self, there is actually no distinction. It is one self. Because, like I often say, with the appearance of the being, it still remains I am. It is not that I was and now you are also. That would mean that there are two. It is just that you were prior to I am, you are always prior to I am, but there appears this sense of existence I am. Where? For your own self. So it is this I am which seems to get into all this trouble, seems to get into all this trouble, and then seems to find various ways to get itself out of all this trouble. So although mostly we are very reverential about this being, sometimes like Maharaj would say all this trouble is because of the I am infection. You have an I am infection. And he would say things like, forget about consciousness. Now, why I don't repeat very often these things is because I know the nature of the mind. If it hears something which sounds like, oh, that is the ultimate, you see, then that becomes like, whoa, this is what I want. You see, this is what I must hang on to. Forget about consciousness. You see? Forgetting very quickly that even forget about consciousness is within consciousness. Okay? So there has to be a certain depth of insight before we jump into these kind of things and start like speaking like Maharaj. You see? So, but I know that if I say this stuff, then it'll become like within consciousness, within the being itself, with the sense of individuality, then we'll hold on to these ultimate sounding pointers, feeling like now we have the truest knowledge. Because, but it is not that. The fragrance of when these words are spoken, when they're coming from a place of true insight, definitely will not contain the sense of somebody speaking them. You know what I said? The fragrance of when these words are truly said will not contain any sense of there being a speaker, or there being a sense that somebody who has understood this. So that is why I'm not in a rush to give you any ultimate sounding pointers, because I know how you are attracted to them. Oh my God. Okay? It's simpler to remain in your motionless existence. Then one day, if these words do, but they will not be smelly. If you looked at the question entirely, wanted to clarify, including the one who wants to clarify, is seen as another appearance only. Yet the one who sees this doesn't see in states other than the waking state. Like we looked at it in the great but is there something you feel more we can clarify? It should be better now. So we spoke about the entire spiritual journey in a sense. It starts off with the sense that I'm a person and I want something, I want God, or I want truth, I want the self. or I just want freedom from suffering. Coming to the recognition that there is no such entity, no such one who wants, there is no such cat who wanted freedom as its next bowl of milk, but got instead a mirror and saw that there is no cat. That is the shortest version of the cat story. Saw that there is nothing to get because the one who could get or does want never really existed. It was just idea, a playful idea. Started off maybe as a playful idea. I have to say that I don't feel like consciousness regrets playing with this idea, although in the midst of suffering it can seem like that. So I'm comfortable to call it the play of consciousness because we have to use some language. Then we saw that there is this unlimited presence which is more spacious than space itself, which is beyond time, which has no past or future. There's very little you can say about this except that I am. And then we explored a little bit about how even this happiness, beingness, in your ultimate reality, you see, is coming and going. And when all of this is completely apparent, is not when you are proclaiming it, you see, or denying it. All of this is completely apparent in this moment of notionless existence, which is freedom, which is truth, which is the self. Thank you for this question, my dear. In fact, it is like saying, what is Satsang? In a way. So, allowed me to give you a full recap what seems to be going on here. Keep answering so good. remember that the mind only has one trick. It is to convince you that at the center of all of this, there exists an individual entity called the person. It never tallies with your insight about yourself. It never even makes sense, actually. If you look at it very objectively, this person has never made sense. And all of its apparent play is also complete nonsense, as you can see in the world. So much division, so much separation. Give the person half an excuse to create camps and become part of groups and teams. It's full of anxiety, full of fear, fear of the unknown, fear of death. Makes no sense. Because you are the light of all of this. You are beyond birth and death. This entire universe is nothing for you. And yet, you seem to believe so much into this sort of manifest, limited manifest appearance. Invite the one that is non-phenomenal into this party. Then tell me what happens. I know that most of you have been long enough in satsang with me to understand what I'm saying. Invite the one who is non-phenomenal into this party. Thank you all so much for being in satsang today. Sadhguru Shri Muji Baba ki
Jai. Sadhguru Shri Ananta Ji ki Jai.
Guru Kripa Kevala.